Right, good evening. So, where I was last time, if people recall, I was, someone had made the very sensible suggestion that I get a load of heirloom gear and wear that. So I think where I was right now, I'd, every time I've been online to play a game this last week, it's been Star Wars The Old Republic. So, I've got some gold, and what I was going to do was get some pieces to upgrade. I don't know whether I'd done that with everything yet. So what did I need? I can see I don't have a helm at the moment. So let's sort that out. No, I always forget this. There it is. Heirlooms, you can go away. So I need, what do I need? Helmet, don't need neck. Shoulders, someone did actually make the point that even better than using the Azerite shoulders. What else? I've got a cloak. Chest piece. There aren't hands or braces, are there? Got legs. Leave. No. I think everything else is sort of okay. So. I need. Right, hold on, let's organise this. So that'll upgrade that. I need something to upgrade the shoulders. That'll be that. Have we got anything else? Oh. Chest. Sort those out first of all. And then of key importance will be transmogging everything. I fancy, as I'm Frost, going for a frosty transmog. What's going on there? What's it moaning about? You have a PvP talent slot available. I don't care. Oh my god, right. Not using any of them. Not bothered. Might as well do the weapons as well, hadn't I? Those are of no further use, are they? Can I equip more of these? Oh, that's a pain. What? Oops. Do I have another one-handed weapon I can use then? Balls. Alright then. It looks like we're using the artifact weapons after all. And I can find them. There they are. Why does that... Oh, never mind. I'm just wondering why only one of them had a thing on. An enchant. Doesn't matter, as long as... Right. I don't know what's missing from there. What's missing from one? Is it an artifact ability? Spell. Death's Advance seems to be missing off my bar. What other abilities have I got missing? Bloodsoaked Skullforge Reef. I don't appear to. This is everything. I can only see one weapon, so I'm guessing not. What I'm trying to work out is what was on one that is no longer there, or is it just an artifact ability that disappeared after Legion finished and I just didn't notice last week. Doesn't matter. Transmog important anyway. Right, what are we doing here? No helm. Right, sort out the swords first. Trying to remember what the swords are called. I want the ones that go on the back. Will I recognise them? Oh, yes I do. Now, I want a good, let's start with the chest actually. A good frosty transmog. Now my transmog collection is not extensive. Oh no. Looks quite nice, but that's not very frosty. That one's a bit more frosty. Tell you what, for now I'm just going to get rid of that so that I can see the rest of the transmog. That's actually quite nice. Now have I got any shoulders that would go with that? Sort of get away. I like my shoulders to be quite understated actually. I think I'd get away with that. Have I got anything? Oh, you get away. What do you think about that? We'll come back to those. Let's see now. And I think they're just the Stormwind ones, aren't they? They are. Oh. Yeah, we'll get away with that. And that one sort of works. It's got the thing. I don't like the belts with the flappy down things though. Oh. I mean that suits it, but why always with the giant belts, Blizzard? Why with the giant belts? That's better. Maybe that. Oh. No. Oh, yes. That works, that works, that works. We're getting there. Now, the last bit. Oh. Ooh. I'm not sure. You could maybe go with that if I can't find anything better. I like those boots, but they're not matching. No. Can I get away with those? I don't think so. I think those first boots did match best. I'm just not keen on the things at the bottom. But never mind. Right, cloak. Oh, nightmare, loads of them. So I want long. Oh, Stormwind wand. Yeah. I want long. That's actually fine. I don't want anything too fancy on my belt. Yeah, I think I can get away with this. So we'll call this one Frost DK. I think this one works. Yeah, I can pull that off. Right, where am I off to? Don't want to go to Dalaran. Don't want to go to my... Right, let's get a Hearthstone on the job here. Oh, hello. I've got a new Hearthstone toy. Eternal Traveller's Hearthstone. Alright, let's do that.
I don't have a target.
Now, I was in Stormsong Valley last time, wasn't I? So I should be heading back there. I could possibly be persuaded next week or the week after, whenever I'm back on again. I'm not sure what's happening next Sunday. To have a little go on Classic, but I'd have to work out which server to go on. I shall be definitely doing it as Alliance. Oh, what's this? A Zandalar campaign. Oh yeah, I don't really want to do that yet, do I?
What can I do for you? Safe.
Go there first. But I am going to have to keep pottering about at some point to get that bloody rep grind for the Pathfinder. Spectacularly annoyed at how much I have to do for it. But at the moment, I've not... When I wanted to go on and do some just general stuff, I've wanted to get my characters on Star Wars up again. I haven't done any... Oh, excuse me, Elder Scrolls Online actually as well since I've been back. Am I doing this? I don't know what that is. What is this? Herbs.
Let him go, Talia.
Oh yeah. Do you know what? I realised last week as well. Actually, should we heal ourselves? I was operating last week without any talents. Which I should have really checked because of course I hadn't used this character since Legion. So no talents. What am I supposed to do with this? There we go. Hello, Nakin. I've been very well, thank you. I've just been incredibly busy. I'm supposed to now, with my new sort of career, hopefully give myself a better work-life balance. At the moment, it doesn't quite seem like it because I'm still adjusting to it. What is that indicating? But I am hoping that once I've settled myself in properly, which may take a while, that I will start to get a lot more time to do other stuff as well. Because I was certainly not getting that while I was working full-time teacher and also effectively as close as I could get to full-time YouTube. And I do have a bit more time now, but I should have a lot more time. I am just randomly clicking things. I assume it's doing me some good. It's almost a bit like Cataclysm for me, this, except Cataclysm I missed out the whole of the... I only came for the end of it. Whereas I was here for the beginning of this and then just disappeared for most of it and then come back at the end, but it's still going to represent a lost expansion for me. Started working close with... I haven't started anything on my main now. Oh no, I tell a lie. I had started trying to get some stuff done for Pathfinder Part 2. And then realised just how much grind there is and thought... So I will maybe at some point slowly get up to that, but I have no immediate plans for doing that. That'll be something for maybe middle of next month. Because I'm only able to snatch bits of time to sort of do the stuff I've been missing out on for the last half a year. I don't really fancy doing it rep grinding. I mean, you know, although my paladin I suppose will always be my main only because it's the class of character I always like to go back to. I don't really think of it as a main in the normal sense because I don't do stuff on it. Like... I won't be doing any raiding above LFR, and I won't be doing, you know, I won't be doing anything that requires use of the word main, if you see what I mean. So, I'm not really thinking in terms of getting into BFA. What I'm thinking in terms of is getting ready for assessing Shadowlands, shall we say. And if I like Shadowlands, then at least I'll have the time to play it casually, and that's the hope. So yeah, I won't be looking to catch up as such. Right, what else have I got to do around here? Tide plots. Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot there's herbs on the walls now. Is anyone attacking that? I'm probably going to die if I take that on, aren't I? Probably should be at least blood spec. What? One shot? There's some around there. Oh, there's some around here. But yeah, when I came back, I was hoping, I don't know where I got this idea from, I can't be certain of how it worked in Legion, but I had the inkling that Pathfinder Part 2 was very quick and easy. So I expected to simply come back, do just the exploration stuff in Gnome Land and SWTOR and be flying. And then I thought, oh, I'll be able to fly on the characters that I need to level up, ready for Shadowlands. But no, Blizzard went, ah, good laugh. You need to get to Revered with 2 factions at which you currently have no rep at all. Right, where am I headed to? Can't tell. Oh, hello. What do I have to do? Oh, something down there. Okay, I am right. There isn't an allied race that I'm particularly interested in working at unlocking. Dark Iron Dwarves would be the closest, but you know, as I'd been playing Horde up until this point anyway, so that didn't happen. But gnomes would be the furthest thing. In fact, oh, I can't show on this character, or can I? Just like, but even on my main this is the case. Right, they're all over the place, but even on my paladin. Gnomrigon is the only of the original thingy factions that I'm not exalted with. I couldn't help get some rep with them, but I wouldn't get to exalted. And I will make it a point not to even accidentally unlock anything to do with gnomes. That didn't seem to work. What's going on here? Darling Blast is having some trouble. Right, pain in the ass. Right, I'm struggling to hit him.
In the end, you will know the truth.
What was that about?
Dream consumes me.
Who's hitting me? Hi, Bradsill. You see me a little more often. I mean, the difficulty still, again, easiest way to explain it is to go through what my week is at the moment. So, doing stuff for the other channel is not a quick thing. You know, I don't get enough views to be able to simply roll on at some point, do a quick video, and then spend the rest of the day doing whatever. I actually think of the week as beginning on a Sunday, actually, because I spend the weekend at my girlfriend's. So I come back round about Sunday lunchtime. Today I've done 2 videos so far. Before I did, this is the second of my live streams today. And although the other one's more a private one. Don't need that, do I? And then after this, there will still be another bit of video in to do this evening before I go to bed. Then tomorrow morning, need to get another couple done. Then, right, I'm not doing very well at finding people. Then I still do I'm doing a bit of cover teaching for a couple of classes. So I go and do that Monday afternoon. Then when I come home in the evening, it's off to the gaming club, bit of Warhammer. If I don't have a game on, which I don't so far, unless someone asks one at the last minute, I'll just take some models to assemble, because I'm way behind. I've got so many models to assemble and paint, it's ridiculous. What do I do here? Samuel, I've got to find someone. Alright. I'm not going to find him here by the looks of it. Sorry. And then when I get back from that, again, another video. Then Tuesday is when I have the full day to myself. Oh, there it is. But that means I have to do loads of videos. And then... But I also want to spend some of those full days, a bit of gaming, get myself back into a bit of gaming. But as I say, there's other games as well as World of Warcraft. And... also getting my Warhammer stuff up to date. As in models painted, assembled. And then hopefully at some point actually starting to do videos for these gaming channels as well. Which is tricky on this particular channel right now. Because I'm not playing the game. But anyway. And it sort of goes on like that throughout the week, really. So at the moment I am still really full on with everything. Well, not full, I do have time to pot it. It's just that I'm spending some time playing World of Warcraft and some time, at the moment, more time playing Star Wars The Old Republic. Is he trying to get to me? I can't really tell. Yeah, he is. Oh well, let's see if he chases after me. Yeah, he has. But at some point, I hope to be able to just have more time for doing this sort of stuff. Yeah, you got level. Anyway, have I noticed the updated DKI animation? No. Oh right, yeah, no, I knew about that. Sorry. Although I hadn't observed it on my own character. Sound extremely busy. I mean, I am. It is. I'm spending more time on things that are. It is a more chilled style though, because although I mean I'm always busy anyway. What is this? I don't need this, do I? I don't think I do. Just says Abyssal Melody destroyed, but it says to do it here. What am I missing? Azerite infused armour will suffice. Does that mean I have to wear my Azerite infused armour? Because I'm not noticing anything different happening. Hi Dimitri. I hope the week was fruitful and enjoyable. It was largely fruitful. I'm trying to. I can't work out what to do here. I must have done this quest so many times as well. Da 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 da. We will deny this. Oh, the ritual is ready, but requires a conduit. If you're in your Azerite armor, will suffice. Oh, hold on. All right, okay. Yeah, that's exactly it. In terms of doing content for World of Warcraft, obviously I need to be immersed properly in World of Warcraft. I'm hoping, really, to start proper with God, what is it? Shadowlands, that's it. So when Shadowlands starts becoming available for alpha, I'm hoping to start paying more attention to it then and start doing a bit of stuff there. In truth, what I'm more likely to do in terms of actively doing content for other videos is do stuff for the Warhammer one, because I can start that immediately, really. But again, it's making sure I can do it on a schedule that I can keep to. Without, like, the worst thing to do would be to, well, not the worst thing, but a bad thing to do would be in a week where lots of other things are going well to suddenly up my engagement with some other content, and then it turned out that was a particularly good week and I can't keep it up. But I'll tell you what I particularly enjoy, that although I'm spending as much time, you know, work, I'm not, you know, I've not as yet found a load of time compared with if I'd have, oh shit, am I going to make any headway against this? I don't like this. I haven't got anything to use against it either. This is going to give me a right beasting. Right, run away, run away, run away, run away. Lots of running away. Oh, will I still get an alpha beta invite? I don't know. I'll just make sure I'm flagged for it and we'll just see what happens. But if not, then I'll just have to, you know, act according to what others are able to report and add my own stuff onto there. Hopefully I would. But, you know. Who knows? Alright, come here, you.
I need to get closer.
Making profession is my main profession. Yes, so videos on the political channel is now my main source of income. So we will see how that goes this year. If it turns out to be a terrible mistake, then yeah. But that is another thing I'll have to, you know, once I've got a handle on my time and I've slipped myself into a schedule, I'll need to, I'll also need to spend time actively growing the channel, because, you know, you're not gonna, it's not gonna do better without me doing something different. For which I do have a bit of a plan. It's just my thing at the moment is I've got a lot of, I need to reorganise basically the upstairs of this house to make my studio bigger by swapping around bedrooms. But little by little on that, because I want to, it's effectively housework and I don't really like housework. Needed a break from Boris. There ain't going to be a break from Boris. Boris is there now for years. But yeah, Warhammer, I'm semi having to give what I really want to do on the Warhammer channel. I mean, there's lots of stuff I want to do. The one thing I'd really love to do, but I'm not going to be able to, just to, before I get anyone's hopes up, is like battle reports. Because whenever I look at battle reports on other channels, there's just, I just look at them and I just think, do you know what? It's because they're doing it so it doesn't take a long time, but with editing you could be so much better. However, unlike the people that do those channels, my main problem is access to players where I live. It's really devoid of it. So I can't get access to consistent gamers. So, you know, I may do them as and when I can. The other problem is I'm completely, and I now know the reason. I couldn't work it out for ages. I was stuffed. The other problem is actually recording them. Is not easy, because apparently, and this is to do with being in Europe, cameras will only, I mean, I knew that my camera would only record for like half an hour, then it'll shut off, and I was, what? And I was looking at ways to bypass it and they weren't working, and I've since discovered it's to do with imports, import taxes. Actually, I'm not sure if that would still apply on cameras developed from now on with Japan's trade deal with the EU, but certainly what has been the issue is like cameras, still cameras, have no import taxes from like Japan to the EU, and didn't for years, but camcorders do, and if it records for more than a certain amount of time it's classed as a camcorder. So that's really annoying. So DSLRs built for Europe won't record properly. And camcorders are all crap unless you spend a fortune on them. Really it is. But anyway, let's have a look here. Let's get some comments sorted out. Do I have the stupid rat mount? I don't believe I have a rat mount. So I'll assume I don't have the stupid rat mount either. Have I formed an opinion on new Shadowlands features where they give classes more flavour abilities? Seems to me without a massive overall talent system, those abilities are pointless. Yeah, I always worry when they talk about flavour. Because you know what flavour is? It's something that they do without a practical reason for it. They did the same in Legion. And when they talk about flavour, what they're basically saying is, you can't argue with us on logical grounds because we're just going to say, oh, it's there for flavour. It's a way of them winning the argument. So yeah, I would be... it's not something that fills me with any sort of confidence. But then again, I've completely abandoned any confidence in the development team to do anything sensible now. But it, you know, I mean, my focus will move away from that anyway because I no longer raid or do any competitive activity in the game. And they're not going to make a mess of the class to the point where I won't be able to do what I will now be doing. But I will feel for people who are going to do that. Oh shit, not that thing again. Run away! Run away! Run away. Don't run away down a dead end. They'll give us useless things just to tickle our fancy and nostalgia and nothing game breaking. Well, sometimes the problem is that it doesn't work as they anticipate. And by the time it's obvious to others, then Blizzard feel they're committed to it and they can't be bothered. Because they have this annoying habit of keeping things from people. Like they don't announce their plans. Which means then that your senior theory crafters can't point out just what's wrong with those plans. Christ. And then by the time it's obvious, it's too late to do anything about it. So the Blizzard sort of feel they're committed to it and you end up with the mess. And then they'll go, oh yeah, we'll sort that out. Well, no, if you remember what happened, and it's not the first time they did this, they said, yeah, we'll sort that out. We can't sort it out now by launch. We'll sort it out by the first major content patch. Major content patch comes around, oh yeah, we can't do that now. And then they got irate as well, as if how ridiculous people were for suggesting that they should sort it out. They oh, we can't sort things out mid-expansion. It'll have to wait till the next expansion now. When they'd promised it would be addressed for, you know, because there were a couple of classes, I mean Shadow Priest especially, well one of them I seem to remember. Oh bloody hell. So the same thing can easily happen. What they think is just a throwaway little ability can end up being something that is game breaking in a way that doesn't necessarily make your class more powerful. It might make it weaker, because in order to address it there may be no solution possible other than a massive nerf of a load of abilities that mean that when the supposedly overpowered ability isn't useful, you're still weak in all other regards. I'll sneak past these beggars. Alright, what am I supposed to do? Oh, I'll just kill stuff until I find something. Get the rat from the store or sub him for 6 months. Oh, that I've not even seen that then. If it's another one like the boat. No, I'm not particularly minded to be getting cosmetic stuff now like mounts, because again, if I start playing it a lot more, then maybe. Although I'm not sure I'd particularly want a rat mount. Will this be my first 120? No, I've got my... No. I was actually playing this at the start of the expansion. I had my paladin. But he is Horde. I don't like Horde. I only went Horde because at the end of Legion, going into BFA, I was going to be raided. The decision to... It wasn't really a decision, I wasn't able to do it. But the point at which I wasn't going to be able to raid didn't become apparent until BFA testing, and I was already transferred to Horde. Then a former guild of mine had gone Horde, so I just joined them to do some Mythic Plus dungeons. And then, obviously because they were casuals, they stopped playing like most casuals do after a few months. And then I was on Horde, basically. And the problem with these, it's the same in Legion really. Because there's a very different experience between Horde and Alliance, the quests and everything, which is fine, and you could argue even good. But it creates a downside in that if you then decide to switch the faction of a character that has done quite a lot of these quests, it can make a bit of a mess of them. So I don't fancy transferring my Paladin to Alliance until BFA is completely done with, in case it screws something up, which it did in Legion. And if anything, this is surely much more faction based in terms of the storyline. No, you need about 1k more rep to unlock the Vulpera, but you can't bring yourself to resub right now just to unlock them. No. Am I done? Might be done.
Without honor, we are nothing.
Did I miss the limited time 15th anniversary event with a special raid? Yes, I did. And I deliberately, I wasn't unaware of it. I deliberately did. Basically, so the way it was working, I'd made the decision to go full-time with YouTube back in, it's either late June or early July. Been considering it before then. But the way it works in teaching is you don't just give like a month's notice or something. You give a term's notice. So at that point, so it was really weird. So basically I was getting ready to leave my job in 6 months' time. I put my notice in with 6 months' notice because that's sort of how it works in teaching with if you going to leave at that time of year. So I had all of summer to try and build up the channel that I could. Then I knew that in September through December, that's when it's your busiest time as a teacher. But I obviously had to still keep building the channel so that when I went full-time in January, which I now am, that I was able to hit the ground running, so to speak. Oh, hello. Anyway, so I just, what it meant was I'd be at work, and once I'd finished my work, which doesn't always finish with the working day in teaching, then I was spending the rest of the time doing videos to try and replicate as much as possible. I mean, obviously I couldn't replicate a full-time schedule, but like a half full-time schedule, if you see what I mean. And then towards the end, I was trying to step it up in terms of what I was doing. But, so it really didn't give me time to do, like, much else. Especially as another thing that happened when I was, so when I made the decision to go full-time, and I'd planned it all out, what was going to happen. The plans were thrown into some chaos, in a good way, by getting a new girlfriend. Which meant that that's another thing that means I don't have as much time as I thought I was going to. but in a good way. But still.
Finally, some action.
Oh, hello. What do I actually want? Wrist? Maybe? Oh, yeah, definitely wrist. Oh, no. Oh, where's it gone? There it is.
I'll fight to the bitter end. When the
Am I
time
ready?
comes,
Okay, apparently I'm ready.
Tide sages walk this ceremonial path on their way to be
Oh,
blessed in
no.
shrine.
Is that good?
Oh, sorry, mind me asking what the Warhammer channel's called, so I need to catch up here. It's actually called Thete Wargaming. It's not the same as this, but if you go on the homepage for this channel, it should be a linked channel on there. I am hoping in the next week to get something out on that channel. Because I would like to start doing stuff on that channel now. Yes, I'm going to leave you to die. Catch up. I ain't got time to wait for you.
He was so kind before the whispers
Oh, Laws, thank you.
it was his
Elderly romance. What are you on about? I'm not that old.
years ago.
Hey, don't be telling. Don't. Oh, well, she's not going to watch this anyway. Don't be saying that to her. Her birthday will be coming up. She's older than I am as well. Only by a few years. She keeps trying to make out she's old.
To our glorious future beneath the tide.
Anyway. What other comments have I missed out on? Hold on. Fixing Azerite system must have drained their focus to working on Covenants. Who knows what's going on? Do you know what? I mean, that is another problem that they've had over the last few years, isn't it? They overestimate what they can achieve on a particular thing, like feature, and then what they have to do. And this was big in BFA. It wasn't such a problem in Legion, because with Legion they got to spend a lot more time on it because they abandoned WoD, didn't they? To spend more time on Legion. And I think they were buoyed up by the relative success of Legion, thinking, oh, we've got this, but failing to acknowledge that, yeah, but that's because you've got to spend way more time on Legion than any other expansion there's ever been, because they abandoned WoD. So in BFA, they bit off more than they could chew, partly by pursuing features that nobody really wanted. You know, like the GCD stuff. So what that meant is BFA came out, then what's supposed to happen is most of the team go on to the next expansion, which we now know to be Shadowlands. And, oh, we're running. Okay. Yeah, I know how to run.
I'll hold them off for as long as I can. I won't be able to hold them for long. Take the rod and get out of here. We aren't leaving you to die.
Sorry, I was just listening to that what they were saying. So they're there in BFA. Most of their team has to go and work on Shadowlands, but there's a load of stuff to fix in BFA, and they can't leave it. They can't abandon it like they did WoD, because this is right at the start of the expansion. And also, I think maybe they feel they sort of got away with it in WoD in a way that they probably didn't want to do it then, but they can't get away with a second time, otherwise they just permanently lose too many. And they did lose a lot of subscribers in BFA, of course. So they had to do. So then you think to yourself, so what that now means is, obviously, I'll put that back on. What am I actually supposed to be doing? Path of Storms opened. Alright. They must have pulled developers from Shadowlands, so that means surely Shadowlands now is going to have less time spent on it. And if they don't learn the lesson of being able to correctly judge exactly what they can do, if they overestimate themselves for Shadowlands and spend a load of time on pointless features, then they're going to keep getting into the same mess, aren't they?
Tides bless you.
The Azerite system is fixed. I mean, to be honest, I'm not fully up to date with everything that's going wrong with the Azerite system, but to me, I mean, I'd said at the time, I didn't think it was something that could be fixed. I thought it was something that could only be improved, not actually fixed. Hang on a minute. But the biggest problem I have with Azerite, and it was the same as Artifact Power in Legion, is the really crippling effect it has on raiders, like Mythic raiders, because they're having to spend so much time on that system, and it doesn't do anything for them. They have to do it to be competitive, but it's not engaging content. I thought, see, in Legion, I wasn't as harsh about it in Legion as I was in BFA, because even though I thought Blizzard were wrong to do it, I thought that at least their reasoning was that it's something that engages casual players, that it was all done to get casual players playing more. But then when I became a casual player in BFA, I thought, no, this is bollocks. It does nothing to engage casual players, because as a casual player, I can completely ignore the system. I don't care about it, because the content I'm doing doesn't need it. I don't need to get to competitive levels. So the grind isn't an encouragement to me to play more. So if it's something that casual players can completely ignore, and of course it's not persuading Mythic raiders to play more, because they're going to subscribe anyway, because they want to, you know, they will need to be subscribed to raid. So I don't know who it serves. Anyway, let's catch up. No spoilers, but you've managed the Horde BFA campaign. Oh no, I've read the story. I've been keeping up with the story. Not a single thing in any of it justified what they made us do, and nobody who was loyal to Sylvanas made the right choice. Well, who would be loyal to Sylvanas anyway? She's a bag, even to her own people. But anyway, you can argue that Azerite system now is redundant. They give us items that from raid that guarantees BIS traits. We don't really need to grind specific pieces from random Mythic Plus. Right, look at Azerite progression through BFA. 8 had crap traits on sparse items, yes. 8.1 had extra rings, yeah, and much more traits to choose from. 8.2, 8.245 had more beneficial traits from raids to make. Easier to acquire now. 8.3, they guaranteed the good traits for vast majority of specs, and as for AP ground, it's a passive thing that we don't even have to focus on at all from 8.2. Oh, okay. Well, if they've removed the grind for Mythic Raiders, have they removed the grind for Mythic Raiders though? If they have, then it doesn't matter, but as you say, it may be redundant as well. But that might be encouraging. I mean, I don't know, but if what you're saying's, you know, literally how it is, then that could be encouraging, because it could mean that they've finally acknowledged that it's pointless and it won't be there for Shadowlands. But again, for me personally, it doesn't matter anymore, because as casual, there's nothing they can put in the game that's going to compel me to do anything. Because if they ever tried to put something in the game that I thought was too onerous, it's not going to persuade me to play more. It'll actually persuade me to play less. Because if I think to myself, right, I need to do this, this and this to play this game, and that is more time than I'm able to put into it, then the solution is obvious. You put the time into a different game instead. So I mean, I don't know whether they've improved in this regard at all recently, but certainly in the 6 months I was playing BFA, it's a bit over 6 months really, I really did think as a casual player they're not doing anything for casual players, and I already didn't think they had Raiders' best interests at heart. So I really didn't know who they were making the game for. I have to confess, I did not know who they were making the game for. Truth is that Blizzard still thinks we're mad about WoD. They believe that players are happy as long as there's enough content, no matter the quality. I mean, of course, I haven't seen a developer stream for a while at one of their Q&As. The next time there's one of those on, I suppose I will watch that. But, you know, the current development team and leadership, I have no confidence in at all. I think they've had so many opportunities to learn from mistakes and have failed to do so that I just think their ego's too strong. Mythic Plus is ideal for casual players. Yeah, not so much casual players who hate to pug though, which I hate. I hate to pug. So I'll refuse to do them. And I won't need to do them because that's another thing. You don't need to do them. When I was doing them, when I was doing it with people I knew on a regular basis, you know, my gear was actually really good for what I needed to do. It was much better than I needed it to be. Oh. Did I forget to do that, or do I go down a different way? Like, if I enjoy Shadowlands enough to invest any time in it at all, which I hope I will, I'll go in with a positive attitude, it will be purely this. I've played Warcraft ever since Warcraft. So, and I know they've retconned a lot of the story, which I have various issues with. But I'm engaged with the story, shall we say. Now, I can keep up with the story without playing the game. But it is much better to play the game if you're interested in the story. So that is going to be my attitude, pure and simple.
Will the rest of the storm's wake even get here in time?
Where are they off to? Oh, what now? Hang on a minute. I didn't pull all this, did I? Oh, shit. Is that going to help me? What the hell? Was I supposed to run up there after them or something? Because I'm getting the feeling there's an awful lot of stuff pulled here that's not my fault. Right, good. Jesus Christ. What was that about? Go on, let's catch up again. But yeah, so I mean, I don't need the gear from Mythic Plus to do quests, and to do the other parts of the story is the raider course. Well, the only aspects of raid I'll be fit for is LFR, so that's what I'll do. What am I supposed to do here? Ring a bell, okay. You never do Mythic Plus, you don't know any casual players who do. I mean, inevitably there will be quite a lot of them. I mean, there's people who pay to do it, for goodness sake, aren't there? Do I have to do that again? Oh, I have to channel it. For Mythic Raiders, a specific scenario, if you were following the expansion before the start of 8.3, you'd have level 70 neck and some Paragon cash saved up. Now you need 75 for the final minor. So as you can gather, Mythic Plus is for Raiders to do in their off days. I mean, you'll find that it's a bit like PvP. There are, and there always have been, Raiders who like to do PvP as well. But you'll find a lot of Raiders who don't. And the same will be true of Mythic Plus. Some will want to do Mythic Plus and push themselves, and many don't. Oh, crap. And pay attention. Now, as long as, you know, Raiders should just be able to raid, because it's cost the game a lot of good Raiders. There were Raiders who, you know, they used to come along, they used to do a good job of raiding. Excuse me, I sneeze.
It's over,
and they'd do all the stuff they needed to. They'd get all the stuff they needed to raid, get the consumables and all the rest of it. But they didn't want to do a load of other stuff. And in Legion, they basically left the game. Which cost not just those players from the game for Blizzard, but the problem was then guilds suffered because they were losing their players. It wasn't easy to replace them. I knew that trying to recruit during Legion. So then guilds would disband, and then whenever a guild has to stop raiding, you always get a few people who are hanging on because of the people in it, so it's a social experience. So then they leave the game. Blizzard really, you know, just that policy of stopping raiders from being able to just raid and nothing else if that's what they wanted, didn't half cost themselves a lot of players. Mythic Plus separate progression system, easier to group with 4 buddies than with over a dozen you can adapt to challenge your level. I mean, that was the stated aim of Mythic Plus, but because they made it a must-have for Mythic Raiders as well, you know, it became a problem. Oh, I should be using that on him, really. I'll have to catch up with the comments again in a minute. Get him targeted. Hang on. Right, that seems to be that. Right, let's catch up anyway. Compared to Mythic Raid, most of...
Sam, he's gone.
But he will not be forgotten. Not so long as we stand.
Also suspect my streaming video stuff has replaced the social aspect that originated from WoW online gaming. Was it? I mean, I'd already sort of thought, even at the point where it wasn't sure whether I would ever sort of come back and try and raid in World of Warcraft, I wouldn't now. I was even thinking at the time when it was a possibility that I don't know, because although it's still the best part of WoW, and it's the thing that WoW does better, I think, then that's the dungeon one, isn't it? Than, you know, like other things, other games, other MMOs. I think I am done with it, and I couldn't do it now anyway. You know, it's just I have too much now in my life. It's I've gone the way of so many other people who just can't do it because of life. But I have done it enough, and the thing, I sort of came to the conclusion, I don't think I'm ever going to experience anything in raiding again that I haven't already. I will never, even if I were to get back into it in a really big way, which I can't, but let's say I could and did, I would never get into a guild that was as highly progressed as a couple that I've been in the past. So I would always be behind my peak, if you see what I mean. You know, I'm probably not going to experience any boss kills that I will enjoy as much as some that I have in the past, because ultimately, you know, the consequence of not competing at such a high level is when you kill bosses, it tends to be more of a relief than something to be really happy about, because it's taken you longer than you sort of thought it should have done. And there's just so much time required for it. That I wouldn't be able to justify, and would not be sensible now. But you've stopped caring about the story. All places have been explored. It repeats the same pattern every time. Good guys always win in like some superhero movies. I mean, it's only the story really. Oh, it's the. I mean, I suppose the world itself, you still have a certain attachment to. But no, the story for me, there's still some interest in the story. I mean, you know, I've had my share of criticisms of certain story elements, certainly, I think. And I've said before that I think they have a big problem with the fact there are too many people involved in the story. You know, there should really be one. I mean, you can have other writers to write subplots, but there should be one in overall charge of the story writing. Throughout it as well. I don't mean on expansion by expansion basis. I mean throughout the game. And there isn't. So you end up with like last minute changes. I mean, we all know what happened with Sourfang at the end of Legion. Absolute nonsense. Oh no! Oh no! Don't say we're going into the definition of casual now. Casuals don't have that many consistent buddies. When I was raiding, then yes, I had a pool of buddies to constantly do dungeons, and that is who mostly gets to do it now. A bunch of communities that now follow on casual Mythic Plus. I mean, there are going to be different definitions of casual. My definition of casual is that you log on when you want to log on, and there's no definite requirement to. You're not letting people down if you're not on a particular time. As long as you've given them some notice, you may organise things, and of course you should give plenty of notice if you're not going to attend for it. But you know, it's the complete opposite of raiding, where you are expected to be there day in, day out. I mean, when I was a Mythic Raider, I might have missed 3 raids a year due to unavoidable events, like an evening work type thing on a raid night. And even that was annoying. But there can be shades of grey, can't there, between casual and not? Like casual for some people could be that you don't play with people at all. But the nearest you get to an actual person is LFR. Which is pretty much how it's going to be for me. Do you know what? I'll have forgotten how to do all the dungeons as well. When I first quit the game, and it was supposed to be a permanent sort of quitting, I was in Wrath of the Lich King. Then I came back, and I came back on a semi-casual basis. Not completely casual. But then I stopped again, basically because my computer blew up and I got a new job. So I missed most of Cataclysm. Then when I came back, and I came back just before Dragon Soul came out, so it was right at the end. And I remember, and so I'd not played Cataclysm at all. And I remember as I was gearing up doing some dungeons, and just because I didn't know, and I was a bit anxious actually because I didn't know them. And these were just normal dungeons, they were just dungeons. But because I didn't know them, and I was conscious of the fact that I was probably in a group of people that had been doing them for months on different characters and knew them inside out, and I was just so desperate not to mess anything up. It's a bit like a couple of weeks ago when I was asking you guys on the LFR fights, what do I do to not wipe everyone? So I'd be the same in Mythic Plus. I'd have to think about where they even are. Which is why it's my intention to effectively tidy a few things up in BFA, but essentially get ready for Shadowlands. I mean, that's what I'd actually intended to do when I came back in Cataclysm, actually. I hadn't intended to really do much in Cataclysm other than level up a few characters and get ready for Mists of Pandaria. Can't remember whether we knew that was at the time, but I knew it was going to be another expansion at some point. And then ended up getting into a raiding guild and actually did raid Heroic Dragon Soul. But that obviously is not going to happen now because I have no intention of raiding. I seem to have pissed off a beaver. Wasn't my fault. It might have been a little bit my fault. At least now when I run LFR, I have plenty of footage and blast stories to show there's wipage in debauchery and LFR. Didn't actually wipe, did we? When I went into LFR a couple of weeks ago, some of you said on a couple of the fights, "Oh, get ready to wipe here." We didn't wipe. There was no wiping to be done. I think there was at least one fight where I came in with determination stacks, but they'd obviously decided to stop wiping by the time I got in. But yeah, I have to confess, I mean, LFR is another one of those things. You know, they've described it as story, like a story tour mode themselves. I really don't understand why LFR is even wipeable, as long as people are putting some little effort in. I don't understand. Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, I need to be enchanted. I'm an enchanter on my paladin. I need to sort that out on that. Oh, beavers are supposed to be angry, are they? Okay. We don't really have angry wildlife in the UK because we spent about 1,500 years making anything that could get angry extinct. To the point where I never understand it when people have an issue with any of our natural flora or fauna. My girlfriend was saying there's a spider in the bath yesterday, and she's saying it with some concern. And I'm like, what? I don't understand the problem. We don't, it's not Australia, we're not going to die or even become injured. Like, the worst you get is a little bite. I have a bite from something on my arm, from some inside, I don't know what, and it is a mild irritation at worst. If it's just a story mode, then why are the gear rewards? Well, because people want the gear. That's how you get them in. Because truth be told, most people just want they want to develop their character. Now, I would argue that gear would be less of a concern for casual players if Blizzard allowed more customization of your character. They drag their feet on it. But yeah, people need to be persuaded. It shouldn't be epic gear though. Like, even if it's going to be of a particular item level, I always say it should not have the purple colour. That should be purely for raid gear and maybe some challenging gear from other sources, obviously like Mythic Plus and stuff like that these days, and PvP. And even the odd crafted piece, as long as it needed items from raids or similar. I'm certainly not in favour of the idea of LFR rewarding you gear that seems like... This is going back some years now. So, when was this? This was during Missa Pandaria. And I joined a guild. And I did what I usually do. You join the guild on the main. And then if it seems alright, then I start to transfer a few alts over. Now, what I did with one particular alt, which I transferred over early on because it was a key profession alt for me. But instead of joining the raid guild, this was at a time where you had all the guild rewards. So you had people spamming people to join them. Because when people did questing, a certain amount of money went to the guild bank, you know, the sort of stuff. So people setting up a guild and, the so-called cesspool guilds could make quite a lot of gold out of it, you know, out of unsuspecting new players. And they, I mean, to say that, I mean, they used to get rewards as well. So I suppose you could say it was a mutual benefit to a certain extent. But they were cesspool guilds. I wanted to experience for myself. I thought, you know, how bad are these places? So the topic got on to... Oh, it's because you used the word whore, didn't like it. The topic got on to raiding. So someone in the guild was organising a group to go raiding. And there's like, what is it? And basically, I can't remember exactly how the conversation went, but it got onto the issue of the different modes of raiding. Now, mythic raiding didn't exist at the time. It was like... and this was early-ish on in Mr. Pandaria. So you had your LFR, you had your normal, and you had your heroic. Those were the types. It was during Throne of Thunder. And, you know, basically this guy, one of these new players, you know, an inexperienced player, they didn't know what time, and someone else was telling them, oh, we're doing heroic. They weren't doing heroic, they were doing LFR. So we got into the discussion of it. And then, I'm missing something here. I got into a conversation of, and one of them was utterly convinced, or they suggested they were utterly convinced, that they thought there was no difference between normal and heroic raiding. It was purely down to the bosses hit harder and that and take more damage. You know, they wouldn't have it that there were mechanics in heroic that were not present in normal. And that's the sort of view that sort of existed amongst a lot of players because they'd not experienced it. And it's one of the reasons why I approved in general terms of the expansion in encouraging people to do mythic raiding. Because one thing Legion did, and I think a past me wouldn't have approved of this. Because you remember how it was in Legion? It may be like this in BFA now. I strongly suspect it is, in fact, but I can't know. But it certainly was like this in Legion. So you'd get some guilds who were not really mythic guilds. And I don't just mean that they weren't going to finish it and get cutting edge, but they weren't realistically going to get very far at all. So they'd kill the first few bosses and then go no further, because they were, as soon as you got onto a boss that had mechanics that required serious coordination, they were not to it. But they were engaged in some mythic stuff, and they were learning that actually, you know, appreciating what mythic raiding is. And some of them, of course, will have used that to aspire to get further and will have pushed themselves and joined better guilds and all the rest of it. So I thought that although you could argue that was sort of cheapening to a certain extent, those early bosses, I thought it actually did some good. So I was in favour of it. Because it did definitely massively increase the number of people that got into raiding. At a time where Blizzard's policies over the last expansion or two, I had thought were actively reducing the mythic player pool. So this was something that was compensating a little bit. But, you know, back in, you know, with... There was no way for those sort of people back in the Throne of Thunder thing that I was talking about, for them to ever find out themselves if they weren't willing to take my word for it. But it was very much an eye-opener joining that guild and just listening to the sort of things that the perspective that a lot of what would undoubtedly be casual players, to anyone's way of thinking, what they were thinking of it, their perception of it all. But anyway, there are gear rewards for story 2 and WoW. I mean, WoW has always been a gear-driven game. You know, Blizzard developers, and this isn't just the current crop, but it is true of the current crop, of course, but I think it's been true of lots of them. They don't understand the effect of cosmetic rewards. They don't appreciate it. Right? My attitude is, a casual player, certainly me, doesn't really appreciate power gear rewards. Because you can't collect them in time, and you know, and then you won't be done with a tier before the next tier's out. You'll constantly be fighting a battle to upgrade them. And they are useless 6 months later. When I stopped playing the game, my... Oh no, what have I got to do? Have I... Die, will you? But like cosmetic gear, if you had more cosmetic rewards, they last forever. So I don't understand. Oh, I can just kill this. I think that should do it, surely. Yeah. Have I done? Activate the self-destruct. Oh, I didn't do that. Self-destruct. That seemed to self-destruct rather quickly. I'm not going to die, am I? Oh no. Where am I going? But anyway. We do live in the world where we give prizes for participation. In WoW, that translates to gear. But not all, no, not all MMOs are like that. There are MMOs where they understand. What's the point of that upgraded? Should have got the belt.
Choppy waters ahead.
Wasn't thinking.
Help! Save us!
Like Elder Scrolls Online is, you know, Blizzard could there used to be a time where they used to take good ideas from other MMOs, you know. They don't seem to do that anymore. It's almost like they just feel that, I don't know whether that's just because it would seem to them that they're not coming up with the ideas themselves or something, but a good idea is a good idea. Obviously they never used to just copy it. They used to, in fact, if anything, make it better. But, you know, they used to make it suitable for World of Warcraft. But one thing they've always been bad at in this game, just as they've been always really good at the raiding, been really bad at allowing you to customise your character. The customisation in this are the worst of any of the major MMOs, surely. Both gear and cosmetic rewards are both pointless if there's no fun gameplay to put them to use. Oh, of course, you want to have fun playing the game. Or indeed, yeah, what is the point? But people like agency over their character. The power rewards are not agency because it becomes useless so quickly. And a less hardcore player will spend much longer collecting it, which means its shelf life is less. But the cosmetic gear lasts forever. And it's the same thing, their reluctance to allow you to properly customise your character is annoying. Every now and then they inch a little bit closer to allowing you a bit more freedom, but they do it at such incremental steps that it's a real reluctance on their part that confuses me. And then their reluctance also to put player housing in the game. There are people that play MMOs with player housing, and all they do in it is make their houses look great. That's all they do in the game. That for them is the appeal. I don't understand when you've got such a powerful incentive for an MMO. Blizzard go, no, we don't need that. It's almost like they're saying we don't want those sort of players. A game that is way, way past its peak of subscribers, and of course we'll never get back to that. But when it lost so many in BFA, and obviously it still has way more than most, but it used to have the most, and I don't think it's got the most subscribers anymore or active players. I thought a while ago that ESO had probably overtaken. But it's not easy to get accurate figures on them, is it? I need another sack of grain. Where be sacks of grain? I mean, I still pay for 2 subscriptions, 2 accounts on this game. And I actually kept on paying it even over the last 6 months when I knew realistically I wasn't actually going to be in the game. I mean, I thought maybe I would now and then. So I kept it open, but I easily could have cancelled it and then just opened it up again later. But such has been the enjoyment I have had from this game over the years that I didn't begrudge paying it even when I wasn't using it. I am actually going to have to work out when I install my new SSD as well. I've got a larger SSD for primary drive. I'll have so many things to install on it, and I don't know when's the best time to do it. I was almost thinking of doing it straight after this stream. But actually no, that's not going to be sensible. I might do it tomorrow night, as long as I'm not too far behind schedule, because I don't know how long it's going to take. I need to make my Windows boot disk first as well. It is sad as well, the way the game is now, that when you get levels you don't get a thing for it. It's just a ding. But I am very encouraged about Shadowlands' plans for leveling, that you can effectively level up from scratch in the latest expansion, that you're going to have much more active level scaling. Have I seen the new Preach video about PTR testing? No. I have not watched any WoW videos at all. I may see then. Again, like, I might. All right, I'll have a, if it's a recommendation, I'll see if I can have a look at it then. Probably find some time. But I've now find very little time to watch videos other than for active research, which of course is not for this channel. Where am I off to? I don't know where I'm going. Up there. I see a question mark on the map. I need to see it on my mini-map. Maybe... oh, there we go. I haven't done any PTR testing for a while as well. I have updated the PTR though, should I need it. You can give me the gist about it if you wanted now. Oh, I'll see there. You're. Have I seen the Skyrim expansion for ESO? I've seen of it because I got an email. Because although, yeah, I haven't played ESO for a long time, but obviously I am still subscribed. I say obviously, I am still subscribed. Whether that sounds like a sensible thing or not. So maybe that should, like, really at the moment I want to play through some more Star Wars: The Old Republic. I want to get some characters for this sorted as well. Whereas in ESO, although I would quite like to get into a position where I'm at least tickling along with my professions, I haven't got anything I'm desperate to do in it. Because I've come to the conclusion I'm never going to play it to the point where my character will, oh, let's get down there and get the flight point, ever be caught up on levels. Because it's a really great game for casual play, but you know the consequence of that is it means if that's all you're going to do, you're never going to play it for enough when there's other games you also like. You want to see me play through the entire starting story for the Sith Inquisitor? Ah, unfortunately I do have a Sith Inquisitor that's completed who I quite like. I am doing another Sith Warrior though, because I realised I didn't like my Sith Warrior. And I really like playing as the Sith Warrior in terms of the story. Why, what's it about the Sith Inquisitor in particular you want to see me do? I think I did stream that though. Or the worst, obviously I didn't stream all of it, but you know, back when I was streaming from several different games, which I may do again at some point, but just for now, this is encouraging me to play more WoW. God, this is like the mother load. I done? Seemed like the writers of the Inquisitor did an excellent job, even being on the Evil Empire. Just made sense for a slave found themselves there. So I'll tell you what I really like about the Empire character, like the class stories in general. They're all really you would play them, if you're thinking about it, very differently. So the way I look at it is this. So the Sith Warrior, so for those who maybe don't know, so the Sith Warrior's story is you are brought into the academy by... basically, your character is someone who's got like Sith heritage, you're, you know, part of the establishment type of thing. And there's someone who a particular Sith instructor thinks is sort of mixed blood and not suitable to be a Sith, who is doing really well and is going to get a plum job as the apprentice of a Darth. So he brings you in to nobble this person, which you duly do, because of course you're the story character. So you are the privileged one shitting on the one who comes from a poor background. Whereas the Sith Inquisitor is the other way around. So the Sith Inquisitor, your main rival, is someone from a strong Sith heritage, and you are a former slave, so you are looked down upon. So you get a very different perspective, and you can role play it in a very different way if you're going to try and keep it true to that. But when you also both get to be Sith when you finish your starting area, which means you can look down at your nose on anyone you like. But I tend to play the Sith Inquisitor very differently. I don't play either of them as unnecessarily cruel as such, but I certainly play the Sith Inquisitor as being actively kind. To an extent, although still ruthless, because still Sith. Then you've got the agent, who is of course a soldier. So you're going to play them as very loyal to the Empire, and also showing due deference to any Sith you encounter, as well as of course senior officers. And then you've got the bounty hunter, who is of course not interested in the Empire as such, and not, and is their own person. They don't have to show any deference unless they want to. So again, you get to roleplay that very differently too. Whereas I think on the Republic side, you don't have like the Jedi. You've got the Jedi, whatever, the two types of Jedi. Can't even remember the bloody names of them. They're that much alike, and they're basically going to be played the same. You will play them the same because they're Jedi. There's nothing that naturally encourages you to role play them any differently. Do I think I'll ever get around to getting the B mount? Right. Tell me what's involved in the B mount, because I would like to, but the way you say it makes it sound like effort, and I probably won't. But right from when I first came across it in the beta or alpha, I can't remember which point, I love the B mount. But tell me what's involved. But yeah, I'm just taking it. If you're going to say, am I going to get around to it? I'm going to assume it takes effort. It's a grind. Oh. What do I have to grind? I suspect the answer is no then. Unless what I have to grind is what I have to grind for something else that I'm going to do. And assuming I have plenty of time to do it. Because there's still an unknown there. You can just go buy the stuff at the auction house if you have the gold and want to spend it. Oh, can you? how much would that cost roughly? I mean, obviously it's going to be different on different servers, I guess, but roughly what would you say it costs to circumvent the grind? Because if it's millions, I have to say the answer is probably going to be no.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. See to your affairs.
I will, while someone says that, I will say what I didn't like about the Inquisitor storyline though, and it didn't seem completed to me. Because at the end of it, for those who are familiar with it, that Darth, whose name I forget now, is still inside the Dashan. And it's like, well, wasn't that the main storyline? Weren't we supposed to resolve that? We didn't seem to resolve that. Anyway, nice interest. Last time I saw people say it was about 500,000. Oh, for that I would, yeah. Oh yeah, if it's 500,000 I would absolutely get a couple of WoW tokens. What are they up to now? That's just over 2 WoW tokens. I could absolutely do that for a B mount. If that's all I have to do, and for thin jelly and rich jelly. Right. Tell you what, shall we... because I'm only going to be on for about another 15 minutes anyway, so let's just tidy this up. Get myself into a tidy position and then let's go and do that. I don't have enough on this character, but I can at least check out the prices, can't I? Right, what else have I got to do? But the B, you know, when looking at obviously all the different mounts that are going to be in BFA at the start, the B mount was the one I went and at the time I thought I was going to be playing it, albeit casually, and I did think to myself, that'll be the one I will actually put some effort in. But obviously, as it's transpired, things went differently. But if it takes no serious effort, then yes, I do still like it. You also need one of the 2 bee pets to start the ground. Right, where do I get those from then? I suppose there'll be a Wowhead guide to this. How straightforward is it getting a bee pet? Because I don't think I have one. Need to buy the battle pet Sea Breeze Bumblebee. Right.
What can I do for you?
Is that a store thing? All right. Doesn't appear to be. What the hell is this? Is this the rat mount? Oh my god. No. You can get it from... But where do people who put it on the auction house get it from? Right, am I done? Oh, big thing. Okay. Now I understand why I didn't like open world PvP. Playing WoW Classic and getting ganked 8 times by raid equips level 60s anyway. For Blackrock Debt's a Thorium point. I mean, yeah. There's like war mode is excellent because it isn't fun when there's a mismatch. And also not everyone wants to do PvP at any particular time anyway, but you know, even when you do, you don't want a mismatch, which inevitably you get in open world. If you want open world PvP, it needs to be done either like Elder Scrolls Online, that's a good system, or like it used to be in Warhammer Online, that was a good system too. Well, you can still get imbalances. It's not like instanced as such, like in WoW Alterite Valley or something. I mean, I don't even bother with war mode. I just really cannot be bothered. Right, where am I off to then? Let's disappear off to somewhere where there's an auction house. And let's go and scope things out. So thin jelly and rich jelly. And a bumblebee pet. Right. That's not where they hide the portals. I don't know where anything is anymore. Where do they hide the portals? Not in here. Where be portals? Get over there, you pain in the ass. There be portals. Yeah, Wowhead, I'm sure we'll have a guide on it. But I might as well just scope things out in the last like 5 minutes anyway. Ooh. Right, let's see. Okay, well that doesn't look expensive. 500 odd of them. This will be the more expensive, I imagine. That seems fairly cheap, although I imagine you need lots of them. And what was the other one? Sea breeze. Let's just put bumblebee. Oh, there. Oh, do you just need one of them? Hang on. What's just happened? Just one. Start the quest line. You just have to gather up enough jellies to get all the red. Well, I mean, it looks like there's no shortage of the jellies. So, where? Right, I'll look on Wowhead anyway. It'll tell me where to start it all off. I have a bee. These horrific visions that you're doing make no sense. Is it an alternative reality that isn't real? Why does it matter if I save someone before I finish it? It's never real with Unzoth, is it? It's always not. But why it might matter is because your perception, I suppose, of reality is altered. So you don't know what's real and what's not. So best to assume that it is. But anyway, I'm going to call it there. I'll be back on hopefully again next week, but I'll update a bit earlier for next week as well. Thanks for coming on, everyone. Until next time, I will see you later.